Your key concern when you're performing database searching is that you want a list of search results that is narrowly tailored to the issue that you're researching. While you can often get good results just by putting a few related words into the search bar and then applying filters, there is another method available to take aim at a specific concept: terms and connectors searching. You might sometimes see the term Boolean searching, which is the same thing as terms and connectors searching. The word Boolean refers to a 19th century mathematician who developed important logical concepts that these operators build from. When you use terms and connectors searching, you are asking the database to scan through the text of a set of authorities you've pre-filtered for to find exact words and phrases that are arranged in a certain way. The terms and connectors tell the database which words you're looking for and the arrangements you expect to find them in. This is most useful when you have an idea of the language you would expect to find in the case that would contain the rule you're looking for. When crafting these searches, it helps to think of each word or phrase as a logical unit, and the connectors as describing the relationship between those units. Let me show you a couple of different ways you can group these. It's easier to conceptualize this if we start from the three simplest operators: or, and not. Let's say there are two different words that express the same idea, and you're not sure which one of those would be used in the text of the opinion. You want to find all the cases with either of those words. You can connect those words with an OR connector and then retrieve all of them. This has the effect of making your search results larger, for good or for ill. In this example, case 1 has the phrase ordinary care, case 3 has the phrase reasonable care, and case 2 has both. Therefore, each of them would be in the results, while case 4, which has neither, would not show up. On the other hand, what if you want to make sure that your results have two different words, perhaps because they represent two distinct concepts that you want the case to discuss? In that case, use the AND operator to ensure you only retrieve authorities that have both. In this example, while cases 1 and 3 have either the phrase ordinary care or reasonable care, only case 2 has both. Thus, only case 2 would show up in the results. If there is a word that you expect to show up in many cases that have the word you're looking for, but you know that cases with that word are going to be unrelated to your topic, you can include a not operator to exclude all authorities with that word. In this example, even though all 4 cases have the word Constitution, all but case 2 would be excluded from the results because they also include the word federal. Now, a good terms and connectors search most likely won't just connect 2 words. You can use a mix of logical groupings of words and phrases using different connectors. First, let's discuss phrases. If you put a group of words in quotation marks, that tells the database to search for those exact words in that exact sequence. When it comes to making a more advanced search term, you can treat phrases like single words, connecting them with other words, phrases, or groupings with connectors. Often, you want to treat a pair of words or phrases that have been joined by an operator as its own distinct logical unit, and connect that unit with another by using another operator. You can form that logical unit by grouping 2 words or phrases inside parentheses. In this example, I have connected the words abandonment and waiver using an OR operator because they are synonymous in certain contexts, and I want to cover all my bases. I then grouped them in parentheses, so these synonyms will be treated as the same basic idea. Next, I connect that group to a distinct concept that I want to make sure is included in my results using an AND operator. Any result for this search will need to have the words insurance and either abandonment or waiver. So as you can see in this example, the cases that have abandonment or waiver, but not insurance or insurance without the other terms, are not included. If you want to search for a word that can be conjugated in several ways, but still refer to the same basic concept, you can use a root expander to search for all possible variants of a word. For example, the word assumption in the defense assumption of risk might also be written as assume or assumed, depending on the context. But by trimming the word down to the root that is common to all conjugations or tenses, and then adding the root expander symbol, most often an exclamation mark, we will search for all variations. Similarly, you can also use the universal character to replace a letter in the middle of a word that might vary depending on context. But often, if those two words are used in completely different sections of an opinion, they will not really refer to the issue you're researching. Sometimes, you need to make sure those words are used in the same discussion to ensure they refer to your issue. This is where proximity connectors come into play. They help make sure that the words you're looking for are in the same discussion. There are a few different proximity connectors with larger or smaller scopes. For example, the sentence proximity connector will make sure the words are in the same sentence, and the paragraph one will make sure they're in the same paragraph. You can also set your own scope by choosing how many words you expect your selected terms to be within, and using that number with a slash as the connector. Now, let's put all of these concepts into practice and make a nuanced terms and connector search. Let's say we are trying to research landlord liability for lead poisoning. We'll set aside the exact claim that the tenants might use, and just try to find discussions of lead poisoning in a renting context. So, we have two basic concepts we want to see covered in the authority: landlord-tenant issues and lead poisoning. Let's take each concept separately, taking the landlord-tenant issue first. I expect that the best cases will use both terms in conjunction with each other, so I want to use a proximity connector to make sure they'll be near each other. But, now that I think about it, a court might also use the legalese words lesser and lessee. So let's make another group with that pair of words with the same proximity connector. Now, both of these groups are effectively synonymous with each other. That means I can make another group connecting these pairs with an OR connector. Yes, you can put groups into a group. Let's turn to the other side of the equation, lead poisoning. I don't know for sure if the exact phrase lead poisoning will show up in the text, but I want anything that discusses lead and poisoning near each other, such as poisoned by exposure to lead. So I will put a sentence proximity connector between them. I also don't know if the case will say poisoning. It might use a verb in the past tense, poisoned. To cover all my bases, I will put a root expander after poison. Then, I put parentheses around them to treat this pair as a logical group. And finally, I connect both concepts with an AND connector. Westlaw and Lexis both use these operators, and they're mostly the same in how they're implemented. You can refer to the databases for more precise documentation about these operators, and about some of the more advanced ones that this video did not discuss. In Westlaw, click Search Tips to the right of the search bar. In Lexis, first select Advanced Search. The right-hand panel will discuss some of the common operators, and it has a link to documentation of all of the operators. Westlaw will not recognize a search as a terms and connectors search if you only use AND or in the default search bar, though it will recognize other operators. If you're just using those operators, you will first need to click Advanced Search.